go ahead and get started. Let me refresh the stream quickly and bring some things up. Okay. So, what are we working on today? We're working on a couple things today. First and foremost, we're going back to writing. So we have everything up that we need. So let's talk about a few things that we did last time and that we're also going to do today, right? So yesterday we played music. We played music on the weekends. So I think I've decided, at least for now, for the upcoming future, next month or so, weekends will be dedicated to playing music, and we continue with our regular writing of music during the weekdays. So that's how it's going to be from now on. Just so we have a nice little break in between writing all this music. Also, it gives me a chance to just kind of, unwind and reload for next time when we do write music. So what were we doing last time? Because it's been a few days since I didn't stream on. I didn't stream on Friday, so Thursday was the last time we talked about anything as far as writing music. So we actually have a lot to cover. So last time I wanted to do an arrangement of a Sonic Adventure song. I've been working on this for a little bit. And last time what we did was we listened to it and we wrote the original one completely out. Right? And then what we were going to do from there is start to write the arrangement based off of this. Right. So, if I can find it. Curious about. Yeah. Okay. Alright. So we're going to go over this and recap this a little bit. Right? My pedal's not working. That's weird. Okay, well, I fixed it. Right. So this is exactly how it was written out, and there's a lot of solos that go on in this particular song, but this song is a boss fight song that is played in Sonic Adventure. And let me play at least part of it for you. Starts off with this. Right, and then it continues from there, and there's this solo, but that's not really a solo, this, with the saxophone. Right, and then this part. So all of this is written down. That's what all that is. But anytime the saxophone does anything or the keyboard does anything, where it's like a solo type of thing, I just wrote solo with the chord changes. Because it changes throughout the song. So the main parts of the song are there, right? And then solo section where I'm just playing those chords. Right. And then we have this part where it breaks down a little bit. And that's the whole song. The song doesn't change at all from that. It does not deviate from it really at all. So, how are we going to change this up? Well, my first instinct with this is because it's in A minor. A lot of A minor songs, for some reason in jazz, are like bosses or Latin songs. I don't know why that is, but there's a ton of them. So my first instinct was like, let's make it like a Latinish type of song, like. You know, that kind of thing. So I was thinking, let's do that, but that's I like that idea, but you gotta change that up a little bit, right? I mean, that'd just be boring if that's all I did to it. So I thought, let's put it in the time signature 5/4. That would be a little more interesting. And then we're going to obviously want to change it up just slightly with chords and things like that. So another important thing to write down probably would be what are some other like substitutions or some other chords that we can use to substitute the main chords in the song. So other than the bass notes changing in that, other than the chords changing there, it doesn't really, the chords don't change much. The only thing that's changing there are bass notes. That's why I have like, they say slash and then a number, or slash and then a note, slash note, slash, slash. It's just changing the bass note, right? So. But the chords are not changing really at all. They're very mundane. So I thought, well, let's change up the chords a bit. So what are the chords, right? We're in A minor. And what we have here is these three chords, 1, 2, 3. Those are the things that are changing, or those are the main chords, right? A minor, B minor, and then E7, right? So it's like a 2-5-1. So we're going to write that down here real quick. And what we're going to do is just kind of come up with substitutions for them. And I write E7 altered. You can alter it in different ways, so it's a little different, like this, or this, or that's just the same thing. That. Do couple different things there, right? So let me kind of explain these chords. A minor 7 makes sense, right? We have B minor 7 and it says flat 5, right? Well, the reason why is because it wouldn't sound good if it was just regular. It's almost like you're going to A major. The flat 5 gives it the feeling that it's going into a minor key. Right? And then E7 is altered. It says altered. So what does that mean? It means it could be altered in a variety of different ways. I could leave it as an E7. Instead, I choose to alter it in a specific way. I'm altering it by flatting the 9. So if you play out an E7 chord, it's like this. With F sharp, right? So you have E, G sharp, B, and D. That's E7. right? And then if you keep going up, you know, if you kept adding extensions on top of that chord, you get to the 9, which is F sharp. If you lower it to F natural, that's the flat 5. So that's one way to alter it. Another way to alter it is this. What I'm doing there is I'm raising the 9 instead of lowering it to G, and then I'm lowering what's called the 13 or the 6. It's normally called the 13, just because of the way that you build chords, which would be C sharp, and you're lowering it to C natural. So you have this. So there's a variety of different ways to alter chords, but that's not what we're really talking about. You know, as far as altering chords, you can alter them. You can alter these chords all day long. It still doesn't change what they are. They're still A, and still a B chord, and then an E chord. When I talk about substituting chords, I'm talking about changing the actual chord itself, changing the bass note. What can we do differently with these chord changes? So these are going to pop up a lot, right? So we want to come up with different substitutions for them. And this is over the course of a 2-bar phrase, which is important to note because it may lead us to adding chords to this. You know, you can add another chord to this so that it's 2 chords per bar instead of A minor 7 for an entire bar and then B and E for a second one. You know what I mean? So let's talk about some things that we can do. Right off the bat, this E7 can be substituted. So what's one way we can substitute with this? Well, one way is using a tritone substitution. This is something that you learn, or that I learned just playing jazz quite often. One way that chords can be interchanged and, you know, substituted in and out is by playing the tritone. So instead of playing an E chord, you could play a B flat chord. And the reason why is because there's a couple reasons. So we're trying to get to A, right? That's the ultimate goal. So we have A minor 7, and then we have a B minor 7, flat 5, and we want to get to A. So if you play a B flat 7, those are all half steps away. We go from, right? So it sounds like this. And I'm not changing much either. The chord that I'm playing is pretty similar to the chord that I was playing with this E7 here. In fact, it's exactly the same. And it works so well because tritone substitutions with chords are almost exactly the same if you alter them. So with the alterations that I was making to this chord, the chord ended up being exactly the same as this chord. It's just that E was in the bass instead of B flat. But that's one way you can substitute things. You can only do them with 5 chords though. There are other substitutions for chords that aren't 5 chords, but this is a 5 chord. E7, it's a 5 chord. This is not. This is a minor chord. This is a 1 chord in this case because we're in A minor, so it is 1. This is a 2 chord. It's a minor chord. It's a 2 chord. Hence the name 251. Right. So that's one way we can substitute. Let's keep going because we're going to probably end up filling up most of this with different substitutions that we can use. Here's another thing that we can add to it. There's a couple different ways you can do that actually. Doesn't sound quite as good. You do something like this. I like this. And you could use this in major or minor actually, but if you change this to, if you make a diminished chord and you put it in there, right here, then you make it all half steps going down, right? You have C, B, B flat, A, right? Leading to All just leads right down to A, really perfectly and nicely. But that's a common chord progression too. And that's if E was B flat. In this case it's not, so it's... Right. But that's how it would sound. But that's another way that you can substitute. Let's keep going. You can actually substitute this, as odd as that sounds. I mean, normally you can't substitute a one chord because that's how you... That's the whole point of the one chord defines what key we're in. Right? We're in A minor. The A minor's got to be in there somewhere. There are ways, though, you can substitute it. As an example, depending on the melody, you can do it. When I was in college, my senior year, I did a recital, and I played a song called Star Eyes that goes like this. The first chord is the E flat chord because we're in E flat major, so it's... But the melody is that, right? It's... So what I did was I changed the first chord to lead into the E flat chord, so it sounded like this. Now in this case, you can do that, but if it was like just E flat, it wouldn't sound good, right? You can't go, because now it's like, okay, well, what key are we in? But in this case, you could, because the melody moved right in the beginning. So in this case, the melody does somewhat move. It stays on A, but it does do, right? It doesn't move, I guess, but it's not just a whole note, right? So you could change it. So what substitution was I making there? So what I was doing was this. Well, what chord is that? So in the case of Star Eyes, we're in E flat major, and the chord that I'm playing there is G flat. It's a G flat chord, I should say. It's a G flat diminished chord. Right? But what I'm doing is I'm taking the top note, which is E flat, and I'm moving it up a whole step to this. And this is called a voice diminished chord. It's a very particular chord. It's not played very often, but... So basically, I could do the same thing here, in this case, where I can go... You can sort of do the same thing. Now I'm questioning it because it's not quite as smooth of a transition as I thought. Thank you very much for the follow, man. I really appreciate it. I always wait till the song is over to thank you because I can't get over that meme. It's the best meme ever. But thank you for the follow. I really appreciate it. We're one away from 100. That's so awesome. I honestly never thought I'd even get to this point, to be honest with you. But thank you very much. But that's how that goes, right? Now I'm lost on my train of thought here. What was I going on about? Oh yeah, this particular substitution. It doesn't work all that well in minor, but there are ways around it. You can do something like this, if I can think of it. That might work. Let me think about that. So you could actually replace this with another 2-5, right? So let's think of it this way. We're trying to get to B, right? We're trying to get to B so that we can get to E and then get to A, right? So we can replace A minor with a 2-5 of B, which is a 2-5 of A. So it becomes a chord progression called a 3-6-2-5-1. So the way that works, and this is quite a back backtracking here. You have to understand. Let me write it out first. And then eventually we would go into A. Now, it won't continue to repeat like that. Eventually I go into A. Oh, man. So it would sound like that, basically. So... pretty simple little turnaround there that you can use, but that's one example. Okay, so that's another substitution of chords that we can do. Another one is one of my favorites. I like doing this a lot. If it works, as long as it works, I have to think about it. Oh man, this is gonna get really weird really quick, right? That actually might work. Let me play it with the melody. Oh, that gets really weird. That might work though. That works. Okay. This is something that I don't remember who showed this to me once. Someone either showed this to me or I was transcribing something one day and I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is really cool. I can't remember what it was. You can make another kind of chord progression that's a little interesting. So let's talk about like diminished chords for a minute here. Okay. Diminished chords. First start. Diminished chords are all built. There's only 3 types of diminished chords. Because diminished chords are built in minor thirds. So they're built like this, right? So say we're starting on A. Goes up to C. Right? That's a minor third. C goes to E flat. That's a minor third. The distance between the 2 notes is what I'm saying. And then E flat goes to G flat, right? That's another minor third. And then if I kept going, we're back at A, right? And if we take all of this and go down a half step, we get this, another diminished chord. And then we do the same thing. We get this, another diminished chord. And then we go down and do the same thing. This chord here is the exact same as the first one, except that what's on top is different. So there's only 3 different types of diminished chords. So another thing that you can do is, since diminished chords can be 3 notes or 4 notes, is you can turn a 4 note, like in this example, a 4 chord phrase like this, and you can basically play a different chord for each note, like using the bass note of a diminished chord. So it sounds like this. Right? That's one way that you can kind of do a turnaround. So it looks like this. Now you have to change up the chords based upon what the melody is and what key you're in, right? So in this case, I would probably play a C diminished chord, since we already have something similar to that right there. Here I play an E flat 7 chord because a lot of the notes in E flat 7 will still somewhat work, at least. And in this case, it would be a sharp 11 chord. Since the melody is A and an E flat chord, A is the sharp 11. So you change the chord based around the melody instead of the other way around. And then what I would play here, this is actually going to end up being 5 chords instead of 4 because of the melody. Now, if it wasn't for the melody, you know, it could be slightly different, but you could play a G flat minor or major chord. Because of the melody, I'm playing a minor chord. And then A flat 7, and then you can continue. So it sounds like this. It's even tough to play. So if I was soloing off of this, I'd probably just play the first 4 chords. So you can hear the diminished chord of the bass. Right. And I'm adding this as just kind of a, in fact, probably going like parentheses like that, right? Adding that as just a little extra, right? But that's another way you can use a turnaround or another little chord progression thingy that you can use. That's kind of cool. But yeah, that's really, I like that a lot. I use that chord progression quite often. Just changing it up. This can also just be G flat major. I'd probably prefer it to be G flat major. I just think it sounds better. So this could be major. That could definitely be major or minor. Just depends on what you're doing at the time. If you were soloing, you can make that major. But if we were playing the melody, you kind of can't because of the melody. It gets in the way. So you can't really do it in that case, right? But that's one chord progression that we can use. We're going to keep going with this because, like I said, most of the song is soloing, right? So we have to change that up by changing the chords up a little bit. So it's a little more interesting for the audience to hear and watch and listen to, right? So another type of chord progression we can do is what's called the 1-6-2-5, which is basically instead of playing 3-6-2-5, we replace the 3 with 1. Yeah, it's kind of similar to that one, definitely, but it is slightly different. Therefore, I want to have it written down. It's something that you can also do. Right, real simple. Another thing you can do is just change the bass, kind of like the beginning, or kind of like the middle of the song, where you're changing the bass where it goes. Right. I'm changing the chord, or I'm changing just the bass notes of the chord. The chord itself is staying the same. Do something similar here, where it goes. Maybe something like let me think about that. May not work. Oh, that's another chord change, though. Yeah. Okay, so you can't necessarily do exactly what I was saying, but this is another chord change. Do this. You do A flat 7 flat 9, and then F7, and then E7 altered, right? A lot of this is determining what chords the note A works with, right? Now, I think I've said this before, but this is kind of my mantra when it comes to music. All notes can work with all chords if you alter the chord the proper way, right? As an example, if you were told that you had to play a C chord and the melody note was any one of the 12 notes, you can make it work, right? The melody note was A flat and you were told to play a C chord. Well, that's pretty easy, right? Well, I say right as in it makes like immediate sense. You alter the chord. That's a C chord with A flat in the melody. F sharp. You'd think, oh, F sharp. How is F sharp even close? Well, that's the sharp 11. You can play C major. Play that, right? Well, then what about F? Well, F is the 11 in C minor. What about D flat? D flat can't possibly work. It's just it's a half step. Well, that's the flat 9. Right? You just changed the chord. I said C chord. I didn't see C major or C minor. Obviously, those things there's certain notes that won't work. Like if I said you have to play a C major chord and the melody note is E flat, okay, yeah, you can't. It won't make any sense. It won't sound good. Now you could play a C7 chord or like a C diminished chord there, or altered C7 chord, and it would work. Or yeah, you could just play an altered C7 chord, that would work. It's still a major chord, just slightly different. But yeah, all notes work with all chords, all keys. You know, I should probably preface that by saying all keys, not all chords. All notes work with all keys, as long as you alter the chord. Yeah, that makes a little more sense. So in this case, the melody note for the most part is A, right? And then there's that. But that just happens on the back end of the last 2 beats of the final bar, right? This is 2-bar phrase, and that goes do 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 do. So as long as this chord stays within the bounds of those 3 notes, which is actually a diminished chord, it's fine. Then the rest of the notes, or the rest of the time, the chord just has to work with A. So how many chords work with A? Well, pretty much all of them if you alter them properly. Like an F sharp chord will work with A. It's F sharp minor, right? An F chord will work with A. That's 3. Or, you know, E flat will work with A. It's sharp 11. Right? It'll work with anything. Works with D flat. D flat, it's D flat. Do this chord. You can do. No, not that, but this. Right. So yeah, like I said, any note will work with any chord as long as you alter the chord specifically. So that's kind of the fun thing about making these chord changes. You can do that. So in this case, we have, and this is kind of a nice little chord change. The bass notes also have to kind of sound correct, right? You can't just go. You can't just be all over the place and sound like crap, and then somehow you get back to A. It has to sound somewhat smooth, so makes sense, right? A half step here and a half step here, and then you're here, right? Makes sense. So we can keep going with this. So all I was doing there is I just replaced this with G, which, you know, you could do that if you wanted to. Let's think of a couple substitutions we can make for this, right? Because one thing that's been pretty consistent is this E7 chord, which is fine. I mean, other than here and here, or here and here, it's pretty consistent. But that's because the melody's changing there, and it's also because E7 is the 5 of A minor, and it's a nice little leading chord right up to A minor, so it makes sense. 1-5-1 is like one of the most common, or it is the most common like chord progression thing, you know, in music. So it's pretty, suffice to say, it's just an easy little transition to go from 5 to 1. But you can replace that with a few other things. You can go, you can do a half step thing where it's B flat minor down to A minor. Just kind of slide down, right? That's one thing you can do. Well, how can we get to B flat minor? Well, you could do something like, it's a little out there, but that's something. write that out. That's a little out there. What that is, right? We start on A minor. We're trying to get to B flat minor so we can slide down in A minor, right? So what I did is I did a 2-5-1 into B flat minor, and then slid down. Now that's probably something you would only use in a solo set. You probably would not use that with the melody, right? I don't even think it makes much sense. It also, it doesn't work all that well with the melody. That's something you would use if you were doing the solo section of this song, which we have to have stuff for that too. But like, right. But that's one thing you can do. Let's keep moving. Let's think of some other chord progressions we can kind of come up with that are going to work nicely with this. We can go from A flat minor up. We can do the same, basically the same thing, moving it slightly different, and do it like this. In that case, instead of trying to get to B flat minor so we can slide into A minor, we're trying to get to A flat minor, which is going from the other direction, to slide into A minor. So. Right. So that's another thing you can do. What else can you do? Let's think about this. Oh, another thing you do. This is kind of a weird one, but the reason I'm even doing it is because it works with the melody so well, but this is another thing you can do. It's a little strange, because going from D flat 7 to A minor doesn't make all the most logical sense. However, if you play the chord like this, which is, you know, just your regular D flat 7 chord, the only thing I'm adding is the 9, which would be A flat, or E flat, sorry. But if I played a D flat 7 chord, right, we have D flat, F, A flat, and B. If we slide all of that stuff up a half step, well, if we slide all that stuff half step away, right, it actually goes pretty perfectly with A minor. Because, let me spell that out again, right? If you slide D flat down to D flat down to C, F down to E, whatever that note is, A flat up to A, and B can either stay where it is or go up to C, you have A minor. So it actually kind of slides nicely into it. You can even change the bass note. That actually might be better. You can do it a couple different ways. Or G7. They're interchangeable, right? So that was something that I wanted to preface there by saying that. See, look how many chord changes we have. I've barely even been playing this, right? So what are some other things we can do? Well, we can do things like go into different keys. Just the... You do that. that's one. I like that a lot. Now that's a lot of chords at once, right? So what I'm doing is do 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 do. And then F minor 7 B flat 7. This is actually one of my favorite little things you can do. You can do something like this. Pretty much any time, I guess. And actually, all of them work for the most part with the chords. Sort of. It's a cool turnaround. So what I'm doing is A minor. Oh, actually, I forgot a chord. The first. Let's do A flat minor. The first bar is 4 chords long instead of 2. So it's A minor, and then we're going down a half step to A flat minor, and then another half step down to G minor, G minor, C7, to F major. Now, why does that make sense? Well, all that made sense up till that point, correct? Like, you can do all of that pretty easily. Now, how are we going to get from F major to A minor? I don't know, because those two keys don't really have any real tight connections, correct? So what I did here is I changed F major into F minor, which you can do pretty easily, right? And then did F minor, B flat 7, and then just slid down to A. So it's a weird chord change, I know, but it gives you some different colors going on in there, right? So you're changing it to F major for a little bit, and then you're going into F minor for a little bit, or in that case, that's a 2-5 in E flat, so you're kind of going into E flat major for a bit. It's just giving you more options, essentially, right? It's used quite often, actually. There's a couple songs that's used in. Used in jazz all friggin' time. That's one chord progression. That's probably the most advanced one we have so far, in terms of like the amount of chords that are going on. I mean, there's 7 chords there, right? And you can probably make it 8. You could probably do something like, like, just slide this up a half step and go back down. You can do something like that pretty easily, probably. But that's one way of doing it. You can also change this to an A flat chord and approach it from the other direction. But the end goal is, no matter where you are in the chord progression, in any of these chord progressions, the ultimate goal is we have to end up back on A minor, right? Because that's the resolving chord. That's one. That's the chord we know to be the key is an A minor. Everything is an A minor. So no matter where we're going with it, like in this case F major, we have to somehow get back to A minor every single time, right? So we have to get back. There's got to be some way. So you can do many multifaceted different ways of going to different going to different keys and stuff. You got to get back to A minor. And you can't just, the other thing too is you can't just like start in A minor and then go to like, and then all of a sudden you're back in A. It has to logically make sense, right? You can't just go to D major and then go back up to, you know what I mean? Like if you went, it doesn't make that much sense what I just played there. I played A minor and then I went to B major and then I went to D major and then D flat major, and then it doesn't make any sense. It has to fit logically. Everything has to be able to slide into A minor pretty easily, or be a half step away in terms of the chord, or or already be in A minor. You have to be able to make things make sense, right? Otherwise, it just won't sound good. Let me refresh the stream quickly here. I'm wondering if it's going to be today or maybe tomorrow that we get the 100th follower. That's going to be an exciting moment. I'm going to be happy with that. But anyways, okay, yeah. So yeah, it has to make sense. You can't just kind of screw around with it. Another thing that we can do that I didn't mention is you can take from other songs. I don't usually like doing that. In fact, I've been told by a lot of my other colleagues, and this is not a. I just want to before I tell you this story, this is not like a gloating story, or it's not like a poor me story. It's kind of like it's just like an in the middle thing. It's just something that I've been told a bunch of times by people. I don't think it's gloating. It doesn't seem like it's gloating. But I've been told by some of my like other jazz colleagues that I'm kind of an organic. I learned jazz organically, and I'm like an organic jazz. Now, what the hell does that even mean, right? That's just like a weird hippie thing to say. But I've been told before that they've used this word. For some reason, they've used this word to define it, but I'm very different from other jazz players or other musicians in general because I learned it and I teach it organically. So what does that mean, right? Well, when it comes to jazz, a lot of the times what people do is they listen to their other favorite jazz players. They will write down exactly what they had, and they will basically take and steal. I don't want to say steal like it's a malicious thing. It's not. But they will use, essentially, or borrow their lines, right? So, like, for example, if a saxophonist is listening to someone like John Coltrane, he will write down a John Coltrane solo, and he'll use some of his lines in his own solos. Why? Because when you first start out, you don't know what you're doing when you're soloing. It's a very difficult thing to go from classical music or from no music to jazz. You have to make up your own stuff, right? I never did that once. I would write down people's solos, sure. I would transcript them. I never use anything I've heard in solos. I don't like doing that. Because to me, in my mind, that's stealing. And I'm not allowed to do that. Now, for other people, they're like, no, it's not stealing. You're learning the different facets of how jazz develops. Same thing with chord changes. Same thing with rhythm. Same thing with styles. I don't like doing that. In my mind, you're taking it away from somebody, and that's not cool. So the way that I learned how to solo and how to do things is basically I just kind of put myself in the line of fire all the time. So I would always be the guy who asked for solos constantly. I would never be afraid to take a solo in jazz. Now in jazz, not anything else. But like in jazz, if someone was like, hey, if I was in jazz band or something in high school or in middle school even, who wants to solo? I would always be the first one. Still am whenever we're playing. I want to be the first one to solo. I love getting that chance and throwing myself in the line of fire and just being like, oh crap, here we go, right? So you start out by doing that kind of thing. And yes, I still listen to jazz all the time and learn from it and all that kind of thing. But what I do instead of writing down stuff and taking from it is I will listen to, for example, a chord change, and I'll say, okay, can we analyze this? How does this work? Why does this work so well? And I'll go, oh, that's interesting. Okay. I have a counter chord change that might work just as well, and I'll write that down. Or I'll listen to a line and be like, oh, so what is he doing with that jazz line that he's playing? Oh, that's pretty cool. I got another line that would work well too, and I'd play my own line. Always. And that's kind of how I develop my style. Now, a lot of people will say, and I've been told this too, but a lot of people will say that the way that I learned music is a wrong way of doing it, or they'll say, well, that's why my solos sometimes will have gaps in them and have stops and stuff because it's not one long fluid thing, or it doesn't sound quite right because they don't end all the time correctly, or you know what I mean? And it's true. My solos are a little fragmented, I guess would be the word to say. or to use. However, I do think they're the purest solos that you can come up with because I'm coming up with them literally on the spot. There's no prior knowledge. I'm not like adding my own like little lines. All the lines that I do repeat or that I do play are things that I came up with. Now, yeah, some jazz players probably played them before, and I'm sure that there are stuff that I've played that's like been in my subconscious. That's like, oh, I didn't even realize that was a thing. But I don't do it purposely. If I do it, it's an accident. But it's just a look into like how I learned music, and that's kind of the same thing for everything that I've done. Is I always want to add my own taste or flair into it. I do the same thing with classical music, even though you're not supposed to. I will add my own. I will play it the way that I want to play it, not the way that like someone else has played it. You know what I mean? Sometimes that comes and bites you in the ass because classical music, you're trying to play the music based off of how the person who wrote it felt, their interpretation of it. Correct? I don't do it that way. I play it in terms of my interpretation, and then I can get that could be bad sometimes. You don't want to do that entirely. You want to interpret it the way that the artist did, because that's classical music. But that's how I learned. That's one way I learned jazz. I'll probably tell the story a bunch more times as I continue forward with my streaming career, just to give you an idea of what it's like writing this stuff. So, you know, people will say, "Oh, that sounds like this. That sounds like that," or you know, you're not. You must have had some sort of prior. You must have worked on this before. You know, like this Sonic Adventure thing. No, I come into this stream completely blind. I like doing that to myself. It keeps me on edge and it keeps me challenged, so that I'm not like writing it beforehand and then just spouting off a bunch of stuff to you guys and then going, "Nope, that was the stream." No, I came up with everything before the stream. I like to challenge myself, and it also leads me to coming up with really interesting stuff. Like this was just something I that's not like a common thing. It's just something I came up with. It just happens to fit nicely with what I'm playing. But that wasn't like all this other stuff. They're common chord progressions that have been embedded in my head for years. This is not. This is just something I came up with, and I'm like, oh, that kind of works. But that's another example. That, you know, just something into my life. But like this, for example, is pretty common. It's used. I'm trying to think of what song that's from, because a lot of the stuff is from songs. And I'm trying to think of what it's from, and I can't right now. But anyways, a lot of that kind of stuff is it's just stuff that's been embedded in my head, so I just come up with it. I know I just went off on a whole tangent there, but I'm trying to think of another little thing we can do here. Maybe something like, oh, that might work. So we keep A as a bass note. That's something that's used quite often in music, but that's something that could work, right? So we do something like do. And that particular chord change might not work, but as an example, we could do this. And then what I was doing was playing G major 7 with A in the bass. If anyone's ever been into musicals, there's a musical called Pippin. Love Pippin. That was the first musical I ever played. I loved it. It starts off with that chord change, and then it goes. But it does start off like that. But that's an example of it in music, just from my own experience. It happens also other times. Actually, there's a jazz standard. It's in major, not minor, but it's like that. It goes A flat or E flat major, and then D flat major, with E flat in the bass. The same thing can apply if the first chord was minor. Right. But that's just an example. I don't know. I'm going off on tangents. We got to continue this. Nah, that doesn't work. It's kind of weird. I like the idea of going to this. It's a little strange, but I like the idea of going to that. So we're going from... Maybe that could just... Nah, because that won't work for the next chord. We got to think about this one for a little bit. We might have dug ourselves into a bit of a hole with this particular chord change. But it's okay. I'm also thinking about this based off of a melody when we don't have to do it like that. Because this could also go... Or... Yeah, it probably would just do this. We go back to this. But this has to be altered in a very specific way. This has to be altered in a flat 9 way. Yeah. So it sounds like this. Right. So this, in this case, I'm just holding the A as a bass note and changing the chords above it. Now you could make it so that it wasn't like that. It was. You could do that too. Just I think it sounds cooler the other way around, but. Right. You could do it like that too, but that's just another thing you can do sometimes in music with like a 4-bar or like with a 4-chord little change there. You could just keep the bass note. I like doing stuff like that sometimes. Actually, I played a song yesterday that does that. It goes like this. Right. It's called Naima or Naima. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's really weird. But it does that kind of chord change. Okay. Let's keep going. Let's write like 2 more. Actually, there's only enough room for 2 more. So let's write 2 more that we can use. Another chord change that you can use often is you can change into a major and use the relative major, and you can also change into C major, which is the... I'm sorry. You can change into C major, which is the relative major, or you can change into A major, which is the parallel major. So I don't know if I've ever discussed parallel and relative major and minor, but those are terms that are used in music. A relative minor or a relative major is 2 key signatures, two key signatures with the same key signature that are major and minor. Like, for example, A minor has no sharps or flats, right? So its relative major is C major because it also has no sharps and flats. Right? Same notes that you would be using in C major and A minor. So therefore they're relative major and minor. Parallel major and minor is the same starting note, but they're different keys. So for example, A minor, its parallel major would be A major, right? That's a pretty simple one. People don't usually make that distinction very often. Like, people don't usually use parallel major and minor. They'll always use relative, which you could do. So in this case, I'm doing this. So let me write that down, what I'm doing. So A minor goes to D minor 7, G7, C major, and then B flat 7, flat 9. In this case, that's what I'm using. So why does that work? Well, we're going from A minor basically to C major, right? Well, they're relative major and minor. So you're not changing much to do it. And it's still going to work with the melody because the melody is based around A minor. So therefore, because they have the same key signature, it's going to work out nicely. So what is this D minor 7, G7? Well, that's the 2, 5, 1 in C major. Right? And then this is just a chord, this B flat 7, flat 9, is a chord used to get back to A minor. That still works with C major. I could also change this to I could do 2, 5, 1 in A minor as well. I can replace this with a 2, 5, 1. But I did it this way to make it a little simpler. So let's write one more. And then we're going to apply as many of these as we can to the actual song. Since the song is pretty basic, we're going to want to do something like that. So let's come up with something else. Let's make this one really crazy. At least as crazy as we can make it, right? Let me think. Again, this is another, I don't know if you want to call it a good thing or a bad thing when it comes to doing live streams. The way that I'm doing them is that I haven't pre-written any of these. This is all just stuff that I'm coming up with on top of my head, and now I'm starting to, as you can tell, starting to run out of gas, and I don't want it to be, to be too similar to any of these, but I want to come up with one more good one, I think, because if we have a good solid, you know, how many do we have here? Almost 10 chord changes. I know we do have 10 chord changes because there's 3 at the top. So we're going to have 11. That's plenty, right? Well, 11 different chord changes that we can use for the same thing. I know they use it very often in this song, but to have them is important, right? So let's think of something else. We can do something like change. Oh, this is get weird. Oh man, this is a little too strange. I don't know if that worked. This could, okay, what I'm thinking of would work not with the melody. So yeah. That's so weird. But it kind of works. And I can explain why it works, I think. Yeah. Yeah, I can explain exactly why it works. Let me write it down first. And let me, again, say this does not work with the melody. So I would not play this chord change with the melody. Okay. At first glance, this is weird. A, B, D flat, G flat, A. Doesn't make any sense. Like, how does that fit together, right? So we have 3 major chords in completely different keys. So how does this work? Well, it's all about this chord, because this is the final chord in the set, or 4, meaning this chord has to go back to A minor after this is done, right? Everything is about getting to A minor. So how does this get to A minor? Well, if you play the chord out, G flat major 7 would be G flat, B flat, D flat, and F. Well, none of those notes are in A minor, right? But if you slide all of them up or down, it is. Right? So G flat major, if we slide G flat up to G, B flat down to A, D flat down to C, and F down to E, we have A minor 7. Exactly A minor 7. Another way you can do this is if we bring to it, visually it'll make more sense. If we take that chord, we bring G flat up an octave, so it's like this, just spelled out differently, and then we can literally bring everything down a half step to A minor. We can also go change the bass note to B flat and slide everything down. So it sounds like this. A couple different ways of doing it. Now this is a really weird chord change, and I would not recommend doing this often. This would be something to kind of sneak in there just to make things weird. If you're getting a little bored with and then all of a sudden, just throw that in there once. That's a chord change you can use. There's another reason why this works, and the reason why is that is a tritone away from C, right? They're like tritones of each other. G flat and C. It's tritone. They're not interchangeable, but they're tritones, right? Which means that they have a very close connection, because tritone substitutions are a very real thing in music that are used very often. Well, C is the relative major of A minor, which means that now it has a closer connection. And you can use that to change some things up into different ways. Now that I've come up with this chord progression, I'm thinking of tons of other ones. But I think we should probably cut it off here, because now if I play any more, it's going to get weird. I'll probably come up with other ones anyways as we play through this song, or our version of it, right? Especially since our version of it is going to be in 5/4 instead of 4/4 in terms of the time signature. It's going to be a little different. But here we have 11 solid chord progressions that can work with anything, basically, that we play. So, as an example, here's the original song, right? We're going to write out our version of it in a minute. But I just want to play some of the chord changes that I came up with the melody to show you how it works, right? So, as an example, I'll play the melody a couple times just with the regular chord changes, right? Right, that's a little boring. You keep playing it over and over again. You're supposed to play that 6 times total. Well, 3 times total. So if I kept, that was only twice. If I play that again, like it's just gonna get too boring. It's the same thing over and over. It's too repetitive. Not to mention the solo section, which is the next part of it, is the same chord changes. So you got another 8 measures of that going on. It's just too boring. You gotta add on to it. So it's a total of, you're playing this. Like, how many times is that total? 10? No, it's more than that. It's just too much. It's like almost like friggin' 24 different times you're playing it or something like that. I can't math right now, but it's just too much. You got to change it up, right? So that's why we came up with all these. So now let me implement a couple of these chord changes in there. Okay, I'm just gonna throw in a couple. Just give you an example, right? I'll play through it once normally, and then I will throw in other chord changes. now it's slightly different. Now we're adding in our own touch to it. And it also changes it up slightly. Same thing with like the ones that don't start on A flat or A minor, right? Yeah, this. So we play it once like this. Now it's different a little bit. Now it's more interesting. So now we have some flair to it. Or, of course, that one doesn't work with the melody as well, but... That's really weird. That's just such a bizarre one. But you get where I'm coming from, right? So now let's write our own. Let's write our own version of the song. I wrote this out last time that we played, just to have it. So we have to come up with the structure of the song. How is our structure going to be different than, as an example, how is ours going to be different than the actual thing? If we look at the actual thing, I'll just kind of read it off to you how the structure works. There's a total of 12 bars in the beginning that are like intro stuff, which is this. Right? That's like 12 bars of that. This is a lot. Most of the time intros are like 2 or 4 bars, at the most 6 or 8, but not 12. 12 is a lot. But that's how the song goes. Then there's 8 bars of soloing. There's the saxophone in the actual song that solos. If you were here on Thursday, you saw me kind of trying to solo along with it. And it does this thing where it goes... that I thought was really cool. But it's 8 bars of solos, right? And then we have this middle part that goes like this. Which is essentially the same chord changes. It's just that the bass note is moving a bunch, right? Basically the same chords, though. And then it's another 8 bars of solos. Right? And then we go back up to the very top, which is this intro again. So the structure of the song goes intro, solo. Basically, like, I don't know if I'd call it a chorus, but I'd call it like a B section. I wouldn't even call the first part an intro anymore. I'd say that the intro is the weird part at the beginning of the song that goes like this. This is probably like I don't really think it classifies as an intro, but this weird part in the beginning, this whole thing is an intro, and then here, or there, that's when it actually starts. So we have an A section here, which is the first 12 bars, solo section, B section, solo section, back up to A, right? And then actually, if you listen to the whole song, this solo section does not come back. Then once we get done with the B section, it goes back up to the top. And then the solo section only appears here. Song only goes through twice, by the way. So, A section, solo, B section, solo, A, solo, B section, song's done. Right, well, it fades out here. Song, that's the other thing too. There can't be an ending to this because this song is part of a boss fight. So the song does not end there and then fade out and then just start playing again. It's a boss fight, right? So until the level is over, until you time out, or until you beat the boss, or until you die, one of the three things, this song will continue to loop and play. That's why there's a solo section at the end, so that it can continue to loop. Now, obviously, for Spotify and stuff, it had to be cut off at like I think the song is 3 minutes long. No, it's not even. It's only 2:30. So eventually, the song has to cut off, right? On Spotify, but in the actual game, unless you win, lose, or timeout, the song will continue. So we have to treat it the exact same way. We cannot end the song. Most of the stuff that I've written does not have an ending. Because most of the stuff I've written is video game music that is in the video game, and you can't end it. Because it's part of a level, or it's, something like that. The only time you can end a song in a video game is if it's a cutscene, credit music. This might be the only two. Cutscene, credit music. Be like the only two times you could actually have an ending to a song. Other than that, stuff has to loop all the time. So we have to treat it the exact same way. So I wanted to write this song at 5/4, right? So how is ours going to be different in terms of structure? Well, we got to keep the A section and B section and solo section. So those have to be in there, but they could start in different places, right? We can also add our own little intro. The actual song has this intro. This weird intro that I understand what it's doing. It's trying to remind you of or it's trying to call back to the E102 song in the actual game, but just sped up a little bit now. And I get it, that's great and all, but what am I writing for? I'm writing just for myself, really. I'm basically just trying to get myself into the world of writing music. So basically, to kind of keep myself in check, I stream so that I can write for you guys and kind of explain to you guys what's going on. This, though, in particular, like what I'm specifically writing, if you ever played Sonic Adventure, game for the Dreamcast, also for the GameCube, they made a remake. This song is part of a boss fight, and I'm making an arrangement of it. I don't normally do arrangements. Usually I just kind of do my own thing, but every once in a while I like to throw in an arrangement of the stuff I've written, and this is an example of one of them. So here's the song, actually. And I'm arranging it in my own way, essentially. Well, not a reharm, because we're changing it up more than just reharmonizing the melody, or reharmonizing the chords. The melody's going to stay the same, but it's a complete rearrangement. This is just, I wrote it note for note, except for the solo section. But I wrote it for the most part note for note here, so that I can have it written down and I can see it on paper. And then I'm changing it up here in the second part, right? That's what we're getting into right now. My version, I want it to be in 5/4, and I want it to be Aladdin of some kind. I should also probably write that down. That this is going to have a Latin feel to it. It's going to sound something like... Of course, it's going to be in 5/4. You know, maybe not exactly that. Maybe it won't be Aladdin. I don't know. We're going to have to see how it develops. Alright. So how are we going to start this thing? Let's move this over to the side here so I can think about this. Maybe we could start it off with some sort of like... Oh, sure. Thank you very much for the follow, dude. Oops. And that is our 100th follower. That's so awesome. Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate the follow. That's so cool. I never honestly thought I'd get to that point, even that I have 100 followers. That is really cool. Thank you very much. I think as part of that, as the 100th follower, I don't mean to like make this a contest. We should do something for that. So I'll just tell you, during the week I, stream me writing music, but on the weekends I will stream me playing music. People will give me requests or anything like that. Feel free, come on the stream during the weekend, and I will play whatever you'd like for that. And I normally do that for everyone, but you would be first priority if you show up and do it. And we will make sure that I can do that for you. Thank you so much. That's just such a cool achievement. Something I just honestly never thought I'd get to. I didn't think there'd be that many people interested in music on Twitch, honestly, because usually Twitch, in terms of music, is used to just like play live concerts and things like that. You have a song in mind? Perfect. Come by. I think I stream every day during the week, starting at 9 in the morning Eastern time here. But on weekend it varies. So check my Twitter, and it will tell you. I will announce like when I will be streaming, like on the weekends. This weekend's gonna be busy as shit, but I'm gonna try to throw in a stream or two if I can. But please come by. That'd be awesome. I'm glad you stopped by. Honestly, I did not think that there was that many people interested in music on Twitch. Literally, I thought it was all concerts that people record, or someone doodling on a guitar. See that all the time. Or someone DJing. This is like the three things, right? Or someone editing music, which we will get to too. Once I'm getting a new keyboard, so once I get that going and all that stuff, then we will start editing music. But I did not think that it was going to catch on as much as it has already. Like it may not seem like a lot, but that's a lot for me. Like I'm grateful for that. But anyways, yeah, this is awesome. Thank you very much. We're gonna continue with this though. I was thinking right before you followed, I was thinking we can have an intro that starts something like. Oh, that's not in 5, 4. Dun, 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 1, 2. That's in 3. Now it is. What I was doing there is just kind of playing, so it's an A minor, right? And E is the 5 of A minor. So I was kind of using that as like a bass note thing. And repeating that while playing weird-ass chords up over the top of it. Something I'm just kind of doodling at this point, but I kind of like the idea of that because it's we also have to think about this in terms of where it's in the song, or where it's in the video game, right? What's going on when this song plays? You're in a boss fight. Upper structure? I don't think I've ever. So, can you just explain what you mean by that? Because that's an interesting description. I don't think I've ever been told. Is that a band, or am I like oblivious right now? I could be. But anyways, what's going on in the game when this is being played? Because that's important too, right? So what's going on in the game is there is this You're at a boss fight, and it's actually the final thing you do in this particular storyline. So in Sonic Adventure, there's 6 storylines that you play, and you beat, and you do. And in this particular storyline, this is the final battle, right? That's why it's like kind of hyped up and stuff, and really listen to the song. That's why it's somewhat fast-paced. Keep in mind we're doing an arrangement, not like throwing it into the actual thing, but we want to keep the intensity going. Especially this beginning. Like, it starts off like this, right? And then it gets ramped up. I think that's important. So starting it off like this... Turn the volume up, dumbass. Actually, we could do... Yeah. That's a weird chord. That sounds like all the weird upper structure sounds. Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, that's good. What I'm doing is I'm playing the chord that is intended to be played and just going down in half steps. And then this part is basically just supposed to have the melody line of... And the reason why that's important is because that nicely goes to A minor. So it's just all around what I'm trying to do with this intro is, first of all, I want to make it sound just a little off. And I want to make it revolve around the 5 chord that's going to lead into A minor. Right? So that's kind of what I'm trying to accomplish. So let's write out a couple things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's write out this bass line that I keep playing. Da 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 da. So this whole thing is it's an E. It's a dotted 8th, 16th, right? Boom da doom ba doom da, doom da doom da. It's that twice. I think. Well, not quite. Because the last part of it is, as an example, it's just these as quarter notes, right? Dun 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 dun. So I guess it's dun 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 dun. I guess it's more this. God, I wish erasing wouldn't. Dun 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 dun. I think it's more of this, and then same thing. Dun ba dun ba dun dun. Would that make sense? Yes, that would make sense. I want to make sure your music makes sense. Yeah, because then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 8th notes, 5. Yeah. Dun 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 dun. It's gonna. Maybe we do that twice. So what I'm going to do, so I don't have to continuously write that bass line, is I'm just going to write an arrow, which basically just indicates to me, continue the bass line. Let me refresh the stream quickly. I have not done that in like I don't know how long. Oh, goodness. Okay. Do, 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 ba-doom, ba-doom, boom, boom, ba-doom, ba-doom, boom. Right? No, nothing at the top to start. It'll just be... Yeah, I like that. I like that idea. So this is going to be played twice. So just repeat. New little section here. And then I'm going to actually write out the entire chord. I'm not just going to write symbols. Reason why is because I want this specifically played this way. A lot of the times I'll do stuff like this, where I write out just the chord symbol and then the melody. Right? Like I did with the... I don't even remember what this was. What was this? Oh, this was a phone song. Or no, this was a Valhalla song. That's right. Have you ever played this game? It's called Valhalla Cyberpunk Bartending Simulator, I think is what it's called. Look up a gameplay of it. It is like so much... It's just a cool game. It's not really a game. It's more of like an interactive visual novel type of thing. It is... I love it. I think it's such a neat little game. And I wrote a song for that. That's right. Not an arrangement. That was like a brand new thing. But see how I just wrote like, yeah, I just wrote kind of bass line, melody, and chord symbols. That's because the chord symbols, it means that I want it to be left up to interpretation. But if I write down the actual chord, which I do a couple times, I don't do it very often because I like everything to be left up to interpretation. I don't even do it here. I haven't even done it in any of these. That's because I want them played specifically. Hold on, there's a truck. Okay, it's gone. I want it played very specifically this way. So, because this is like an intro, I think we're allowed to do it that way. I'm going to erase Latin right now because I don't know if I want to keep it Latin. But we will write that this is an intro. So this first chord, this is going to continue, right? First chord we're playing is oh god, that's so scrunched up though. You can kind of see it, right? 1, 2. I think the best way to write this stuff out in 5/4 is to write it out like this, as in 3 beats and then 2 beats. Because what you want to do is separate the first part of the 5/4 and the second part of the 5/4. Like if I wrote whole notes and then that tied to a quarter note, it's just not, it doesn't make as much sense. It would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? But that's not what we want. We want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kind of like if you ever heard of the song Take 5, which is in 5/4, it's a jazz song and it goes, they're separated, right? Da 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 da. Same thing here. And actually, I'm taking from that a little bit. Right? So we want to do that as well. Means the same thing as if I wrote it the other way, but just slightly different. Wow. That's some of the worst. That's some of the worst ledger lines I've ever written in my life. I've written worse. Okay, so this is just basically defined as 3 and 2. It's more rigid, it makes more sense, and this is the chord specifically that I want played right there, right? And the other interesting thing about this is because we're in A minor, we don't have to write a lot of naturals. Since there's no sharps or flats, we can just write in whatever accidentals we want to write in, which is kind of nice. Next is this. We have G, we have B, we have a C sharp, which is going to have to get extended out here, and F sharp. Throw in some dots, and then do the same exact thing here. Why don't we separate this out like this? Well, kind of gross, but it's okay. It's kind of gross, but it's all right. It's gonna be totally fine. You're gonna love this. You're gonna love my notes. That's an old meme. There we go. Okay. If I want, I can write out specifically what these, like, I can write out the chord symbols, just because this is so squished. I may forget what this is. Most people that read this will say, I can't read what this is. But let me kind of explain to you what exactly these chords are and why they work with what I'm playing, right? So this first chord is an E7 chord. It's altered, but it's an E7 chord. Why is it an E7 chord? Well, E7 is in the E is in the bass, right? This A flat can also be written out as G sharp, which was the 3 in E, right? It defines whether it's major or minor. If it was G, it's E minor. But it's not. It's G sharp, right? So E7. And then we have D, which is the 5 of E. I'm sorry. That's not even true. That's the 7, which makes it an E7 chord. So we have the 3 and the 7, which are the two most important notes in any chord, really. Is the 3 more so the 3, but if it's a 7 chord, the 7 is important. And then what are these other notes? We have a C and we have a G. Well, it's altered. So how is it altered? Well, we have if you kept building this chord, right, like this, we have the 9, which is F sharp, is lowered to F, or in this case it's raised. Sorry, it's raised to G, right? And then we have the 13 or the 6, which is C sharp, which is lowered to C. So we have this. So that's where that's coming from. It's a common alteration called raised 9 lower. It's just called raised 9 lower 13. There's no other way to define it. And what I'm doing is just going down in half steps. And it gives that crunch and kind of weirdness to the song, right? Because these other two chords don't really work all that well with E, but it's crunchy. It's got some dissonance. It's weird, right? Get into that part later, but you get kind of what I'm talking about when I'm writing these out. Next is this. We got to write 3 ledger lines now. This is getting a little too ridiculous for me. I don't usually like to mix up sharps and flats, so because you're not supposed to. And all of these ledger lines are going to be used right now, so I'm going to write A sharp. Ugh, that's so gross. See, like, how are you supposed to read that? That's the worst chord I've ever seen anyone ever write. This is why I might just write out the chord symbols so that it makes more... Or, yeah, I might just write out the chord symbols so it makes more sense for everybody. So everyone's not sitting here squinting. I didn't even write sharps for all of these. Look at how fucking terrible it is. Alright, but you get the, I guess, the gist. Bass line's still continuing, so I'm going to write a little arrow just to remind myself that the bass line's continuing. And then, same chord up here again. I do have a pencil sharpener, but it's broken. Let me grab it. Here's my pencil sharpener. It is beyond broken. And so what I usually, it's supposed to be an electric pencil sharpener. I took the batteries out because it was broken. But when I would put it in, it would just turn on, but it wouldn't like rotate. I don't know why. I feel like something's stuck in there, but I've been checking constantly if there's nothing. So what I have to do is put it in here and then twist it and basically make it a mechanical pencil sharpener and just kind of twist it. But then it just started destroying the pencils. So I'm left with this stub. I know, I have to go to Walmart and just get another one. And I'm not writing in pen. You absolutely never want to do that. Because if you make a mistake like I've been doing, and I will continue to do for the rest of my life, you need to erase it. Yeah, you can't just cross it out and write a different thing. That's not how... I remember once, I think it was in high school, Or maybe it was in college. I don't know. But I didn't. All I had was a pen, and so I was like, well, and I had to write something for some sort of music class. The guy like failed me basically because I wrote in pen. He's like, yeah, you got to come back with a pencil. And so I came back and wrote it again in pencil, and it was fine. But like, yeah, they're like, you can't write things like that. You will get in. It just doesn't look good. Oh God. No, actually, I was right the first time. Wow. That's pretty bad. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is why I don't like to write out chords. See? Oh yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big fucking deal. It's like the bane of all musicians' existence are pens. That is sharp, and that is sharp too. I'm going to try to write this a little bit better. I think that's slightly better. No. Nope, not anymore. It was. See, again, this is why I don't like to write... This is why I don't like to write out full chords, because you got to do all this shit triggering. Yeah, dude. Pens trigger. So, I think I have the structure of the intro. It's a little long, but so is the other intro in the other song, so it's not as bad. Plus, there's more going on than in the other intro. So how do I want this written out, right? There's a couple different things I can do. But from what I've been playing and what I've been going over, there's 3 parts to this intro. There's this. Why is this so loud all of a sudden? Probably because I turned it up with my elbow because I'm left-handed. You know what? I'm starting to like this now more. Which is just the opposite of this. I'm starting to like it the other way. Or I'm actually starting to get like... Yeah, I like it the other way now. Well, that... Oh, crap. That was the one thing I didn't want to erase. Actually, I could have kept this too. And then the one thing I didn't erase is the thing that needs to get changed the most. Yeah, I kind of like it this way. I don't know why. Sounds better to me. So, right, so there's that part where I'm just holding these down as whole notes. And then there's this part. And then there's this. Whoops. Right, there's that. So there's 3 different parts. Now, how long are each of those? That's the important thing. What we have to figure out is how long do we want each of those things to be? Well, I think that 2 times of just that is fine. And then... Now, do we want to repeat that again, or do we want to continue? I think we want to keep that the same. I don't think we want to repeat it. I think that'd just be too much. That maybe we can repeat twice. And then... And actually, this is going to be kind of out of time. Dun, 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 dun. That's probably going to be a 6/4 bar. Bum, 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 bum. And that's all on ands too. That's annoying. So I will not write a double bar. I'm sorry. I meant to say I will write a double bar. So what I'm going to do for this is write another arrow, which means just continue with the same chords, and I'm going to write slashes to indicate rhythm. So it's going to be like this. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3. It's going to look like that. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Actually, this has to be written out like a whole note like this because it's a whole note. Right. And then I'm going to write it out like I had been. Like this. Right. Just kind of indicating where the rhythms are going to be for all of this. Let me refresh the stream quickly. Okay. Then we move on to the next part of the song. But it's going to be repeated. This part's going to be repeated once. So here's what we have written out thus far. And then we're going to go into that's actually like that's a weird one. That's actually like 2/4/4 bars. That's bizarre. So before we write that out, I'm going to take a quick break. I haven't actually taken one yet since I've started. So I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to play some Snarky Puppy probably for you. And I will be right back. Just give me 1 second to take a break, I guess. Let's get back to it. This chair gets stuck sometimes. Anyways. So we're talking about what we're doing here. So let's talk about this next part, because it's a little different. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. This is going to be weird. But these next two measures are in 4/4. And actually, I'll probably end up writing some of the chords down here. But I want to indicate the bass notes are still going to be here. At least from here. And then this part, the bass notes are going to be slightly different. Dun, 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 so it's going to be like this. Right. Doom doo doom doo doom doo doom doo doom doom. Right. Yeah, right? No, that's an interesting story, actually, now that you mention it. So when I was in college, we got really into Snarky Puppy, and Corey Henry played with Snarky Puppy. So I was the president of my senior year. I was the president of our like student-run jazz organization, which consisted of like almost all of the music kids, which is like or like half of them, which is like 300 kids. And we had like student funding and all that stuff, and so I used a majority of our student funding to bring in a guest artist, and I brought in Corey Henry, and so we met him and stuff, and so he put on like a master class. So he put on a master class where he talked and stuff, and it was really cool. And then we played for him. So I played something with him with a vibraphonist of mine that he loved. It was really cool. And then we played a big band piece of one of the Snarky Puppy songs for him, and he loved it. And then we played it again, but me and him kind of traded off playing piano. He played on an electric piano, I played on the grand. It was like one of the best experiences. And then we got to like talk to him a little bit about stuff, and then we took him out to we took him out to dinner and to like a bar and stuff like that, and showed him around. It was so cool. He's such a cool dude. It was so funny too, because so the school I went to is predominantly classical. There is no jazz program. It's all student run, but we're known for our student run jazz program. It's not on you. I wish it was on YouTube. It's not. That really sucks that it's not. I should actually ask. That's now 2 years ago. Holy crap. That's so weird to think. I should ask someone about that. Because it's 2015. Yeah, I should ask someone about that and see if it's on YouTube. Our version of the Snarky Puppy song is on SoundCloud, I think. I'd have to find it. But anyways, our school was predominantly classical. Like I said, no student-run no jazz program at all. However, we were known for our student-run jazz program. Like, our school was known for that. We had been around since like the 30s, and we were like super known for it. So, we were posting advertisements all over the school, like, "Hey, Corey Henry's coming," all this stuff. And the classical professors are a little set in their ways. So they're sitting there going, jazz player, And we'll see about that. We'll see about, if we're going to do this ever again. So there's like a classical professor that comes in, and he was at the master class, and he asked a question. He was like, I have a question for you. And he's like, yeah, go ahead. And he goes, how much does technique play into your? How much does piano technique play into your piano playing and stuff like that? And Corey just goes, I don't really care about that. It's like technique's not really that important to me at all. As long as you just play the stuff. As long as you're able to play the stuff you want to play, doesn't matter. And the guy just looked at him like, in shock. He was like the violin professor or something, and he just freaked out. Just looked at him like jaw dropped, like, I can't believe he just said that in front of there were a lot of kids at this master class, and he's like, I can't believe he just said this in front of the entire, basically like half the music school. He said that because it's classical music, right? The whole thing is about, you want to be proper. You got to sit up properly. You got to have your hands like this, and you got to play like this. Everything's proper, and you got to, whatever. And he just basically shit all over classical technique, and just was like, yeah, it doesn't really matter. I thought that was the funniest. I was laughing, because I was up front on stage, because we had just finished playing for him, and he was doing a Q&A, and I lost it. I thought that was so funny that he said that. I'm like, I can't believe it. I'm like, oh my god, we're gonna get someone's gonna yell at us for that. Like, we're gonna get in trouble because you can't say that in front of classical professors. Are you kidding me? But he didn't care. He's, we're paying him to come to the school and just play for an hour, and then we took him out to dinner and stuff. He didn't give a shit. I'm like, oh man, it was so funny. that was the greatest moment in the whole. Well, the greatest moment for everyone was that, but. My greatest moment was when I got to play with him, like, side by side. That was awesome. But, yeah, that was hilarious. Just straight, no, it didn't matter. As long as you can play the stuff you want to play. That's what he said. I'm like, dude. Great. Anyways. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, let's continue with this. And then after this, I'm just going to throw this in here. We're going back to 5/4. And probably only going to do a couple more bars of this, because this intro's getting long now, right? It's 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 16. So it's longer than what I originally thought was the intro, but it's cool. There's at least different stuff going on, right? That's kind of the point. If it gets too long, we can always just cut out the repeat. You know what I mean? So let's get to this next part, which is a little strange. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this next part looks like this. Do 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 ba do boo do ba do do. God, I wrote that horribly. All of these chords now are going to be dotted quarter notes because they're all on the. They're all 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. Dun, dun. Oh man, this is getting really low into the spectrum. So what we might do is we might cut some of these off here and start writing them down here. I'm definitely writing the rest of these down here. And then this would be, let me think about this. This would be an E. An E would look like that. Like that. Jesus Christ. Nope, this is not going to work. Yeah, that's how it's going to be. I can also write this out by saying that this is a G chord. Not like. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Oh man, this is gonna get real messy. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. This is really stupid, but we're gonna add in the clef here, just so it makes more sense. You know what I mean? I just don't. I want people to be able to see what I'm writing here, and if I start muddying up this part, you're not gonna be able to see it. And actually, all of these notes, I always do this. They're actually all down an octave. I wrote them up here, but they're actually down here. You know, what are you gonna do? So this next part is a D, an F sharp, a G sharp, and a C sharp. And there's no dots because this is tied over. Like this. And this is one of these. This is like this. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3. 1, 2 and 3, 4, 1. And then the last chord here would be, it's a B, a D, an F, and then I'm going to write A sharp. And the reason I'm writing A sharp instead of B flat is because we already have a B in the chord. So it makes sense to just write A sharp instead of B flat. So it's like this. And then this is tied to one of these. A dotted half note. And that's just kind of held over. And then maybe we just go. Maybe 2 bars of the regular stuff. The regular stuff. Right. Do 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 do. And then the actual song starts. Do 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 do. Right? And I'll write this one more time. Just because and then we start the actual song. What we could do is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1. Something like that. Or like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So. God, that'd be weird though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. That might get a little. That might be a little too much. And then when we're soloing, so it's like. Yeah, I wouldn't really define that. I don't know. It'd be different. It'd be a lot different. Because that's something that you don't normally do. What I'm doing. Yeah, that might be a little too much. But we'll think about it. We'll definitely think about it. Do-do, do-do. So it'd be like do-do, do-do-do-do-do-do-do. I think we almost have to for the melody, since the melody is. So if we did. All that great stuff. So here's what we're going to do next. Now we can write chord symbols. Because it's left, this one's a little more left up to interpretation. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Yeah, right. Okay. It's better if I just write it. I'll just shut up and write. Actually, this isn't going to get repeated. I just realized. Good thing this is in my rough copy book, because I don't know if I mentioned this. When I'm doing these projects, I have a rough copy book, and then underneath I have the final copy book. The final copy book is the stuff that I would do to be recorded and then edited. So I just want to mention that. So that's why this looks like shit. In the final copy book, it looks a little better. Because I would never have a gap to turn the page in the middle of a phrase like this. So how would I do this? I guess it would just be that, right? Yeah, I think I would just do it like that. So in this case, it would be 1 and 2 and then it looks like this, right? Bum 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 bum, and then the chords. A minor 7. I'm gonna write them here because there's not enough room up top. B minor 7 flat 5, E7 altered, We're going to do the original chords to start with this first 4 bars. But remember, we have to do this 3 times in a row. So to change up the stuff, change up the chords is going to be almost mandatory. Now another thing I got to mention is whenever you start a new page, you write the key signature, and actually you should even write the time signature and stuff. You rewrite all that up top here. Right? Do. So it's the same thing again. Except it ends slightly different. This is the same, and then it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and... So it's like this. Wow, that was really big. I don't know why I wrote it like that. Then do. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5. Yeah. Again, same chords. And then E7 altered. Right? Now, the melody is going to continue. Melody continues. But they're going to be slightly different chord changes. So why don't I just write a repeat 3 times? Well, first of all, I just don't have enough room. I'll probably condense it when I actually write it out completely. But for now, we're going to write it out like this. As a complete 12-bar phrase. And all I'm going to write are just the chord changes. Okay. So, we need one more. And then it changes. And then we have a solo. Or whatever we decide to do. Right? So, what are the chord changes that we want to put in here? Well, we have to figure out what works with the melody. And we have our list of chord changes that we've kind of written out and made that we can use for part of this, right? Right. This is going to get intense. We could do something like... we do that. That's this chord change here, where we went... which is just basically different chords over top of a bass note of A. We can do that. We said this one and these two don't work with the melody, right? Those were 2 that specifically did not work with the melody. This one did, I believe. What was this one? Yeah, that one works with the melody. We can go 1, 2, 3. You know, something like... or so. Or... I don't like how that sounds, though. Let's try this one up here. And we can do that. That one will work. So what I'm doing, it's keeping the same melody. We're going to substitute in this chord change. And then So it'll sound like this. Right? Just a subtle thing that you do in the beginning here to change it up slightly. We could do something like. You can get nuts with this stuff. I may even want to do like a long line of chord changes and stuff like that. Instead of just writing specific 4 chord changes, I may want to do some long line of like. Actually could work too, what I just did. How did I do that exactly? Oh man. Yeah, so what I did is substituted this for this, and then I played an A flat 7 flat 9, and then no. And then a D flat 7 alt. This chord. Ooh, man. G flat minor major 7. And then an F7 altered to E7 altered. And then it's getting a little nuts, so now we want to get back to A. But listen to how these chords change. I'm just going to kind of play through this chord change for you. Here. It does make sense, it's just there's a lot going on. So I'm going to kind of try to play it. I'm not going to play it in 5/4, I'm just kind of break it down a little bit better so it makes more sense. I'm already playing it in 5/4, I just said I wasn't going to. So. Because remember, the whole goal, whenever we're doing chord changes, is to get back to 1. No matter where we go, or what key we end up in, or whatever we decide to do, unless we're changing keys, we want to get back to 1. 1 is A minor. And we're not changing keys in this song at all. Like, there's not a time in this song where we're going to change keys specifically, or change keys for more than like a measure or two. This song is pretty, stays in the same vein pretty much. So, we're starting at C sharp minor, F sharp 7, B minor 7, B flat 7. So that in itself can easily get back to A minor. But then we're developing it even further. We got A flat now. And then D flat, G flat. So that's almost like 2, 5, 1, G flat. And then we're going down a half step to F7, and then down another half step to E7. And then E7 is the 5 of A. It's a long line, and yes, I'm altering it in weird ways, but we're just trying to the ultimate goal is to get back to 1. And we did that. We accomplished that. Albeit very weird, but that's kind of the whole point of music. I mean, most songs, if you hear a weird chord change or something, or you hear something a little out of place, it's all just delaying getting back to 1. And that's kind of what I'm doing here. Because there are a bunch of times throughout this series of chord changes I can get back to 1. I can go back to A minor after this. I can go back to A minor after this. I can go G flat and just go up another whole step and get back to A minor. But instead I'm delaying it by going down. There's a bunch of places where you can do that. But you want to continue the line. You want it to sound interesting. So. So if we were playing like a line over top of this, not the melody, but if we were like soloing over top of this, okay, it has to make sense, and the solo has to sound reasonable within the confines of these chords. So like, as an example. Right, so that kind of made sense, right? Right? It doesn't sound weird like this, like if I did... Right? All those notes that I played worked with the chords that I was playing, but it just, that wasn't a cohesive line. That was just kind of gibberish. But if I play it like a cohesive line... Right? It makes sense. I'm not playing anything, I'm not going too far out of my way to play notes that apply to those chords. But I'm also making it just different enough that it's not just like C sharp, F sharp, B, you know, that kind of thing. So I think it makes sense. It's just a little odd. And you have to keep that in mind. Now, there's supposed to be a solo over top of it, or this is just all melody notes, so. So see. It's gonna be a little weird. So I'm gonna try to play this with the melody slower. It's a little weird, but it can work. So that's my reharmonization of that whole part right there. So what are some other things that we can do for this next set of 4 bars? And then it's kind of a solo section, you know, if we want to keep it that way. So I'm looking at the list here. Oh, this one worked. I remember this one. So that one worked. That's kind of an interesting one. We may switch up the order of these as well. Order of these meaning like this might come here and this might go here. And then I think to end the part, I think it should just be what it normally is. And maybe we'll throw in a C diminished. So it's right. I'm wondering if there's any songs that are like that that kind of go back and forth. You see, the problem that I have with this song right now is that it goes back and forth into what the rhythm is. So it starts off going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, very quickly. And sometimes you can do that, or sometimes you do that for a measure, or sometimes you do it over the long period of time. But this is very quick at how it changes. A lot of songs that are in odd measures, like 5/4, 9/8, 7/4, those types of songs will play their beats differently. It will never go like example, a 5/4 song. Will I don't know if I know any that go 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1. It always goes 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1. Either that's where a chord changes, or that's where the melody changes, something like that, or it will go 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3. Right, where the rhythms are. But this is going back and forth between those two a lot. It's going 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3. I just don't know how common that is. You know what I mean? So I don't want to do it if it's not going to sound good. But you get my gist with this, my gripe with this, I guess. So now we have a solo section. If we want it to be a solo section, I think it should be. The other thing I might do is I might just play the melody twice or once even, and not 3 times like this. It just seems to be a lot. You know what I mean? But as far as solo section goes, yes, we're gonna section this off and say 4 times with different variations of this. And in this case, it's going to go. Not. You know. Or no, that's not even right. I can tell I'm running out of steam with this song. I just don't know how much more to do with it. You know what I mean? I really like this song, but I guess I didn't realize how simple it was, if that makes sense. Like, as an example, I did another arrangement of a Sonic Adventure song that had a lot more going on in it than, like, harmonically. Let me play that for you. This. And it changes keys. It changes keys. There's a lot of stuff going on there, and I immediately knew what I wanted to do. Well, not immediately, but I knew what I wanted to do with it. This is a little different. I'm changing kind of like the rhythm of it to try to compensate for the fact that the harmony is not as interesting in this song. Because it's not. This song is not as interesting as that. That one I just played is way more interesting than this. This is just too simple. I mean, if you think about it, it's just this over and over again. The same chords. It's very boring. I love this song, but it's just... there's not much you can do with it. I mean, that's just too boring. You know what I mean? And what I actually did with the other one, I can show you. That first thing that I played, I actually... where is it? It's in the final copybook. I wrote it into a blues. So that song goes... It's possible to play 5 bars of 3/4 and resolve back to 5/4. So like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 5. It might make sense. Okay, so I think I know what you're trying to say with this. Is you're trying to say it's like it'd be a total of a 5-bar phrase. So it'd be like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 2. Right. Or are you saying continue with what I was doing and then add in 5 bars of 3/4? Oh, you were saying that. Okay, no. You could, but here's the way I think of that, right? 5 bars of 3/4 would be 8 beats total, or 15 beats total, right? 15 quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? That'd be 15 quarter notes. And then an added bar of 5/4 would be 20 total quarter notes, correct? 20 quarter notes, if you divided that into like a 4/4 into 4/4 measures, is 5 bars, which means that it would be like a 5-bar phrase, right? Which is not as common. I think what you could do instead of that is maybe, let me think about this. Something like a 14-bar phrase would be more common, and what you would do there is 3 bars of 3/4 and then a 5/4 bar. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. It's a little more common, and it's 4 total bars, but it's 14 beats. If that makes sense. Five bars of 3/4. Oh! I see what you're saying. So then, what would be what? Would the melody be in 3/4 or in 5/4? And then what part is in the opposite? What is it vice versa, basically? So what part is in 3/4 and what part is in 5/4? See what I mean? Or are you just saying 5 bars of 3/4, 3 bars of 5/4, and then back to the top? 5 bars of 3/4, 3 bars of 5/4. Or are you saying one section of the song is going to be in 3/4 and over the bottom of it, it's in 5/4? You know what I mean? Hey, kitty cat, thanks for stopping by. Good to see you. So, yeah, it's really just like what is going to be played in those bars. You know what I mean? And, I don't want to get, like... Of course, we always, all of us miss you. You add some life, for sure, to the stream. I'm doing pretty well. We hit 100 followers thanks to Zizaru, I think is that how you pronounce that, was our 100th follower. So, thank you to him. I'm very excited about it. We're working on a Sonic Adventure song, something I was doing on Thursday. And, yeah. So, we're actually, to be honest with you, we're pretty much almost done with it. Which means the stream's probably going to wrap up in about an hour, I would say. Because I probably got to go by 1. I have so much crap to do. Today's a busy day. I have to go over to a high school. Because I've been working with this high school every other day on their musical. I will play you the Sonic Adventure song. I'm working on a high school musical with the high schoolers, trying to teach them and also being the pianist for the musical. And then I've been doing that every other day, and then I have to go get glasses because I'm getting new ones. These are 2 years old, and they were prescriptions for stuff. My eyes have gotten a little bit worse since, and they were prescriptions for stuff that were a long time ago. And I don't even really wear glasses. I only wear these on stream. I don't know why I wear them on stream. I don't wear them like outside of stream, but I do need new glasses. So, because I'm going to start wearing them more. This is the Sonic Adventure song. This song is played in the final boss fight with in E102 storyline, E102 Gamma storyline. It's the final boss fight music. Anyways, but Zizaru, if you back to your point, yes, you could do that. It just would depend what you put in each of those bars. You know what I mean? Like, what is in this section? What is in this section? I keep itching my head throughout this stream, and it's because of this hat. It's like it's knitted and it's very itchy, but it's the only hat that I like have around here for some reason, and my hair is a freaking mess. I really appreciate you throwing out ideas. I like it when people throw out ideas so I can talk about them more. No, take it as a compliment. I mean, you add life to the chat, and you talk, and you're entertaining, and I enjoy that. You add some life to the stream, because sometimes I'm sitting here like, I can do this, and I'm not talking, and then you'll throw in something in chat, and I'll go, oh, sick. So, no, it's definitely a compliment. I didn't mean to like make that weird. This is the other Sonic Adventure song that I redid. Let me just play it for you as an example. This one that I'm writing right now may end up getting tossed. To me, it's... You can kind of tell, right, when something that you're writing is not exactly going the way you'd like it to. And right now, this is one of those ideas that was good at the start. And now I'm starting to think it's not as good as it was. Now, you have one of these every once in a while, right? In the first set of 10 projects I did on stream, there was one that I just didn't like. I was like, this isn't great, and I tossed it, right? And then I did the Mist soundtrack, and now I'm doing another set of 10 projects. And this is probably going to be the one that I'm like, I don't know. I'll finish it, but I don't know if I like it as much. Yes, that's going to be the next thing I want to do after this. So after I write this out, the next thing I want to do is I'm going to make an Undertale song. I haven't decided though, because I think my next big project might be to rewrite some of the Undertale original soundtrack. I may do that because I love Undertale's music. It's so good, and it's common. It's recent. It's better than Myst, because Myst is just like, oh my god, it's 25, almost 25 years old, and Undertale came out last year, 2 years ago. Sorry. I was thinking. I will show you which one I was thinking of redoing or rewriting. Either I'm going to do an arrangement of it, or I'm going to just write my own that will fit. And I actually think I might just write my own. Where is the song? Let me just see if I can find it. Here it is. Is it... Oh, crap. Is it Approach, or is it... I think it's just regular. I think it's just this. Wait, is it this one? Yes, it is. This is the core song. I may rewrite another, like, my own core song. You know what I mean? But this is so cool. I love this song. Really? You're like the first person I've ever met or talked to that doesn't like Undertale. You can barely hear the music. Let me turn it up. I'm always worried about that. I don't want it to be too loud. Wait, so why don't you like Undertale? I'm curious now. Is it the story? Or is it the 8-bit graphics? That are sometimes 8-bit and sometimes aren't? This is a great song, though. This is a quieter one. Yeah, but you get the gist of the song. It's in C-sharp minor. Anyways, I keep getting sidetracked now because now I'm curious about your Undertale thing. I want to play this though real quick. So again, this is the first Sonic Adventure song that I rewrote, or that I did an arrangement of, that goes like this. Right. And then eventually it goes into a different key. But so what I did was I turned it into a blues, so it sounds like this. Oh wow, I'm already just totally screwing it up. and then eventually changes keys into this. And then back into. So what I did is I basically have two blueses here. I have a major blues and a minor blues that cover both of those. The other Sonic song is it's literally called and ... fish hits. I'll tell you, you can find it on Spotify. It's the stupidest song. This is the other one, the one I just was telling you about. Did I spell that right? Oh goodness. That's all. That's it. Now let me explain why it's called that. There is a so there's a storyline with Big. It's where Big the cat is first introduced, and he fishes. That's all of his. His levels are all him fishing, right? And when you're fishing and a fish bites on your line, this song plays. So this song can literally be 2 seconds, and then the fish, gets off your line, or it's super long. But that's when this plays. And then this is the next section of the song here, right here. Right. And it's like this super intense song just for a fish biting on your line. So I took section 1 and turned it into a 8-bar blues. An 8-bar blues, and then I took section 2 and turned it into an 8-bar minor blues, and it works out perfectly. Oh, I love it. The art style of characters are generic. The community is trash. I mean, nitpicking. The community is totally horrible. I completely agree. The art style, I guess, is hit or miss. I don't care too much about the art style, I guess, of it. I guess it's fine. The fact that it's an 8-bit, it's fine. Right. And I'm glad that you think that way. No, the combat's not fun. It's just supposed to be funny, I think. I mean, if you take the genocide route, it's the most boring shit in the world. I think if you take the pacifist route, it's fun because it's just funny. Like what's gonna the line of it is funny, I think. And you also said I thought the characters were interesting. I thought they were a little different. I mean, like everyone loves Papyrus. I thought Sans probably my favorite character. I thought he was cool. But I can see how you can think that. You know what I mean? For sure. I'm glad you didn't say anything about the music. And then you would have been like, hey, I didn't like the music. And I'd be like, oh, well, I'm doing the music. It would have been really awkward. Anyways, let's get back to this. Because we're almost done with it anyways. Now, the next section of this Sonic song, after the solos, is this. Right? That's the next section of it. I actually really like this, but I think what we should do is write out full chords, because in the actual song, it's just all A minor, just with the different bass notes. So it's... In fact, I don't even think there's any chords being played. I think it's just the melody and the bass notes. Right? I don't even think there's any full chords being played in that whole thing. So let's make full chords. I think we should keep it the same. For the most part, the melody should not change. You know, and we can do it something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like. You know, something like that. Do 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 do. But we'll just change it up so it's not just bass notes and melody, but there's full chords going on in it. So this next part, we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna write out the melody first, and then we'll write out the chord changes. Okay. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I think probably the melodies for the most part is going to be the same rhythm. Thank you. No, it's totally fine. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Yeah, it's gonna go like this. Do 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 do. Pretty simple melody. Right. Do do do. Just the difference is we're in 5/4 now instead of in, you know. Yeah. And then this is pretty much exactly the same. I'm just rewriting it out so you can, because it does change slightly at the end. Do 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 do. Yeah, and then I guess this would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 like this. Shit. And then just to have it written out, another solo section. Right? So now we have to figure out the chord changes. So we do know that it's going to go A something, and then it's going to go G sharp something, G, G, F sharp, and then F, E. And then we will figure out the rest after that, because we may not continue on that same trend. We may buck the trend a bit. Oops. This is getting weird. That's fine. No, it's all right. I mean, I want to come up with it as best as I can myself. Okay, so the first chord is going to be A minor. This is this chord, which is G sharp 7 or A flat 7, flat 9. So it goes, and then this chord is, how do you define this? I guess this would be a G7, also a flat 9. Yeah. And then this is a minor chord. And then this is a major 7 sharp 11. And then this is just a regular E7. And then we have this. This is an E flat major 7 sharp 11. And then this is a D minor 7. And then we have a D flat 7 altered. And then like I can figure this out. And then, oh man, this is getting real messy. So what this is a C7 sus, right? And then basically I'm going to write all this out, and then I will try to explain it to you. Try to explain it. B flat 7 sharp 11. Oh man, that's getting weird. Or maybe we can go. No, can't do that. That's too weird. It's too weird. Maybe we can do no. Let me think. We have to make it with these notes. I guess you could do that. It's a little basic, but I suppose you could do that. This would be an F minor major 7, and then a G7, and then A minor. Okay. So like I had said earlier, at the end of the day, we're trying to get to A minor, right? That is the end goal, is to get to A minor. So, we're starting on A minor to get to A minor. But we have 8 bars to fill. I don't want to do it too early, or else it's just going to get cluttered, and we don't want to do it too late or not end up there, because then there's going to be a weird chord change here at the end. So we have to have enough that will fill this whole thing. So I use the idea that the original song had, which is going down in half, because the original song again is. Right? So I did that, but I just added, in the original song it's just a bass and melody, so I added actual chords all the way up until here. And then I continued to go down in half steps until we got to this point. And I did basically, I went from B flat to F, almost like 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, and then just went up at whole steps to end it. Okay, that's kind of the best way I can explain it. So it would sound something like. I'll try to play that again without any mistakes. So if I were to play that without the melody, it would sound like this. Oh god, that's just getting so weird though. But I think that's the best way to do it. It fills up 8 bars, and it works. The only thing I'm worrying about is this doesn't really fit as well. Sort of does. I'm also pretty sure I wrote that out wrong. Oh, my goodness. But that's what we have for right now. And that's pretty much it. That's all we can really do with the song. Right? We don't want to change up the we don't want to change it up too much. We want to keep it somewhat true to itself. I mean, we're already changing it into a 5/4 song, so we don't want to mess around with it too much. All right. Oh, man. So here's the thing. I have, like, maybe 45 minutes left until I got to get going. I don't know if that's enough time to start Undertale, anything with Undertale just yet. So we may save that for tomorrow. And that would be the first thing I do tomorrow. This is project number... So we did a project 11, 12, 13. This would be project 14 that we would start tomorrow. Project number 14. And I will write... Oops. I will write Undertale core. Yeah. Because this is going to be, we're going to write the song, essentially, as if it was part of that game. It's not going to be a... Well, we're on 14. We've actually done more than 14. I did a set of 10 projects, and then I did a set of 20 projects, and now we're on another set of 10 projects. Because the way that I guess the way that the show or stream is going to work is we do a set of 10 projects that are all unrelated, and then we do one giant project, and then we do another set of 10 projects that are all unrelated, and then another giant project. So I've already done 10 that are unrelated, and then I did the Mist, when you were there, the Mist original soundtrack, which was all related, and that was a 20-song soundtrack, and then I'm now doing this, right? Of course, none of this matters until it's been recorded and edited and stuff, but until I get my new keyboard and decide what I'm doing as far as that goes, we won't really know. But anyways, that is going to be 14 for us once it's done. And I kind of... Well, I'll explain exactly what I'm going to do here. This is not going to be like a rearrangement of the song. It's going to be basically... Someone gave us a copy of somebody, like someone gave us a video of somebody running through the core of Undertale, like that part of the game, and it said, write the music for it. That's what it's going to be about. It's not going to be me rewriting the core music. It's going to be me kind of redoing the core music, which I've done a couple of times throughout this whole thing. Let me see. Where else have I done that? Just to give you an example. Actually, the first song I wrote on string, which was this. Everyone knows everyone knows, I say that generically. But if you've ever played Kingdom Hearts, you know the music that plays during the flashback sequences. That plays during the flashback sequences, right? This is my own version of what plays during the flashback sequences. So I've done stuff like this similarly. If you ever play Kingdom Hearts, when the flashbacks are going on, like when Sora is thinking back to like when he was younger, or he's having those weird hallucinations. That song will play. That goes. The game Kingdom Hearts? Really? Yeah, it came out for the PS2, like one of the first games that came out for the PS2. But it's the game with like Final Fantasy meets Disney characters. But yeah, that was that's where that's from. That's a game. Dang. Well, yeah, that's the basis of the game. It's literally like Final Fantasy meets Disney characters, and the main character is named Sora. And there's been like, I'm trying to think of how many games there are for it. It's too old to run. Oh, that sucks. Yeah, it came out for the PS2. It came out for some handhelds. I don't know how many games there are in the series. I think like 8, something like that. But anyways, the main character's name is Sora, and he does like, there are cutscenes where he flashes back to things throughout the cutscene, like either his past life, or he'll flash back to or he'll have like hallucinations of things. And this song, this. that plays throughout those parts. So I kind of did a rewriting of that, basically. And I rewrote it into... I can pull it out. Okay. I rewrote it into this. It goes on from there. There's this weird part here. This is also, again, the rough copy. The final copy is in there. Another example of something that I did like that. I don't know if you were here when I wrote this at all. This. My own idea for like a start of a horror game thing with just a piano. And I took this from, if you've ever played Layers of Fear. Layers of Fear is a horror game. Came out like... The official version, I think, came out last year. And it starts off, like, most of the music in it is pretty ambient, scary music. But it starts off with this piano thing. It goes like this. And it goes on from there. Anyways, I made my own kind of version of that. That goes like this. I gotta turn up my end because I play this very quiet. And I'm gonna actually start it down here because the beginning is pretty. Right, so that's how that went. I love playing that. That's like one of my favorite things that I've written. It's probably my favorite thing I've written thus far on stream, for sure. Because I think it just replicates with what I wanted to write it for. Right, I think that it's I guess it's my opinion. Maybe I'm a little biased, but I think that represents the start of a horror game really well. Again, maybe that's just me. I love that though. Like, I thought that was really, is perfect for the scenario. So, I'm gonna refresh the stream quickly. I'm probably gonna have to get going here. Yeah, because it's like 12:30 basically. I only have like a half hour left till I gotta get jumping on some other things I gotta go do. Gotta go down to the high school, help them out. So, yeah. I think that's probably gonna do it for us today. So, in that case, guys, if you haven't already, please hit follow. Thank you very much for coming. If you hit follow, it helps support the stream, helps me to, want to continue playing for you guys and doing this type of material, I guess, for you. It's just good to see people who enjoy the stream, who enjoy watching what I do, and just kind of support that kind of stuff. So I really appreciate it. Tomorrow we'll be back same time, 9 a.m. Eastern, and we're going to do probably the Undertale thing, and I'll come up with another idea of something else to write too, just in case we finish it up early. Although I think we're probably going to put a lot of time into this Undertale song. I just have a feeling. About the same amount of time we did with the Sonic song. I didn't think the Sonic song was going to take that long either, but it ended up taking almost 3 hours. But, that happens. But yeah, so we're going to want to save a lot of time for that. What I'll probably do as a second thing is a phone song. So every once in a while I will do a song from the phone, because I have a folder on here of ideas that I've kind of come up with throughout the years. And I've never written them down, never done anything with them. They're just ideas. So a phone song might be something that I do where I pull up one of the videos I have on my phone, and I will listen to it, write it down, and then try to see where it would fit in with music. So thank you guys very much. I'll leave you with, well, we were playing Snarky Puppy at the beginning of the stream. So let's play some more Snarky Puppy. But yeah, thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate it, and I will see you tomorrow.